We are live. Good evening, good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world, whether you're listening to this recorded or whether you're listening live. My name is Haroon Rabbani and I am joined by Dr. Ashish Paul. Today we're going to be talking about immune health and 5 natural ways for you to boost your immunity. So at the time of recording, we are in sweltering heat. So if you see us run away, it's because we're just melting, okay? Ashish, welcome back. Do you want to share a bit about your background so anyone who doesn't know what an Ayurvedic doctor is before we just jump into that particular area? Do you want to share?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Harun. It's lovely to be here with you, and I am enjoying. I think a lot of people are wonderful to see. And I am a doctor of Ayurvedic medicine. I am also a medical herbalist and a few other things as well. But I work specifically in the space of natural fertility to support women who are going through fertility issues or gynecological issues and gynecological diseases. So this is all what you and I are sharing, our natural health developing strategies that we are talking about. And Ayurvedic medicine is one of the best proponents of preventative medicine. There is nothing better than Ayurvedic medicine, which talks about prevention.
Brilliant. Okay, so one of the big areas, which is a massive area, and I was talking to my mentor actually earlier on today on the business side, and I was asking, I wasn't asking, I was just confirming. People would rather have a pill to fix everything. In fact, today, this very day, had an old friend who messaged me and said, Arun, I know you help people reverse type 2 diabetes. What do I have to tell my dad to do? Tell me what supplement. First thing was, tell me what supplements, what medication, in essence, what do I need to give him? And straight away, people are opting for the cure when the reality is cure is only temporary and prevention is the key. However, the way marketing works in the world, whether you run a business or a health practice, it doesn't matter. Most people want to go and deal with an issue after the event when you're really setting yourself up for a kill. You are on a trajectory which is not a very good one. So this right now, as we speak, we're having a heat wave in the UK, which is lovely. So it's a normal summer for everybody else, but for us, it's a heat wave. And it's only 29 Celsius. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit. It's a lot. And you might think, well, hold on. Why should we even think about immune health, immunity, when winter is so far away? You know what? This is exactly why you've got to work on it now. Don't wait for winter. It's too bloody late by then. So so my own background is functional medicine, and I'm a health coach. I very much work with people with childhood traumas where a lot of the causal issues are. And I want to share with you, I've got a list of things I want to share with you, which is signs that your immune health, well, first of all, what affects you? What does your immunity affect? First of all, it will affect every single organ and system in your body. If your immune system is not up to scratch, then all your organs will be affected. Your inflammation, if you have chronic inflammation or acute inflammation, it's affected by immunity. The acidity, the alkalinity of your blood. And why is that important? Just imagine this. Most diseases operate in a more of an acidic blood environment, which is interesting. It's only micro shifts, but it's enough. So that's important. That's to do with your kidneys as well, which helps balance your pH, your acid alkalines. Toxins. If you have poor immunity, you're going to have a lot of difficulty dealing with toxicity. Also, infections, dental issues has an effect. Your lifestyle factors has an effect on your immunity. We're going to cover quite a few things. And let's start off with the first thing. What is the first most important thing, Ashish, which people need to be aware about the immune system? What's the number one natural thing they can do?
Well, the number one natural thing, I think we have touched upon it in our last podcast as well. But today, specifically to do with immunity, is the gut health. So the gut. So we make 90% of our immune complexes in the gut. And actually, we make them from the fiber. The better, the more soluble and insoluble fiber that we have in our diet, that is what bacteria and microorganisms feed on, and that's what builds the immune complexes. And we are not eating as much fiber. What we are used to as hunter gatherers, how much fiber we were eating, we are not eating anywhere near that fiber. And even the things which are now we take as brown, brown bread and brown rice, and it's minuscule in terms of what we were eating. So gut health is the most important thing when we talk about immunity. If your gut is compromised, your immunity is going to be compromised straight away. There is a direct link. Studies prove it. We know this from natural medicine. We work on the gut to improve your immune health.
So what kind of things do people put in their gut which affects their immunity? Where would you start off with?
Well, the things that lower your immunity is, number one, as I said, lack of fiber. The top one would be sugar, which is your area, right? So sugar lowers your immunity straight away. We have many studies to prove that. And the good things that we can add don't take away the skin of the fruits where the skin can be eaten. And some of the fruits where you may think you can't eat the skin, like the skin of banana, is eaten in some parts of the world. That it's made as a vegetable, and you can still eat it of raw banana as well. So eating wholesome diet, eating fruit and vegetables, lot of vegetables where there is, it's wholesome. We are not crushing it, we're eating it as it is, so that we still get that fiber that we need. We don't want to crush the fiber too much. So it is those things that are important for the gut to work on. And right now, what is also lowering immunity is the processed food, the foods that are in cans. Yeah. Microwave, for example, is also not helping, because microwaved food is not recognized by your body as the normal food. So all of these factors.
In a previous episode, we talked about how one of my connections, Dr. Elizabeth Sartoris, who is a global leading evolutionary biologist, she said, when the body consumes microwaved foods, it gets the message it's in the early stages of cancer. One of the things I want to relate back to people is this, that our audience is this, that eat as natural as possible. I've just today, earlier on, I have my dinner earlier on in the afternoons, of course, because I'm a healthy person, as Ashish would recommend. Yeah. So one of the things amongst my plate of food was beetroot picked from my allotment, from my garden, potatoes picked from that. Here's the thing. When you are so used to eating stuff from the supermarkets, you start we've been weaned off the taste of it. Once you've eaten it, I was just saying earlier on, once you've eaten like something like the beetroot, you will never want to buy it from the shops. And so people think that processed food is bad enough. People think that the healthy foods are healthy. They're nothing near what is grown locally to yourself. So and also I want to touch upon sugar. Sugar, it just occurred to me that sugar industry has been based on slavery, particularly in the West Indies, for example, the Caribbean. It's based on slaveries and slave labor. But the truth is, today worldwide, based on the epidemic, I would say, of type 2 diabetes, actually people are still slaves to sugar, but this time as consumers rather than producers. So, and of course, processed foods contains an awful lot of sugar, salts, additives, preservatives, which aren't meant for your body. So cut out sugars, definitely number one. Cut out processed foods. Is there anything else people are consuming food-wise or drink-wise which is destroying their gut health?
I think fizzy drinks, for example, aerated drinks, as we call them, carbonated drinks, as we call them, they're not really good for our gut, because they do add a lot of air into our system. And then that air gets trapped for many people, and it starts to give them the bloating and the wind and other issues to do with especially somebody who is Vata. And we're going to come on to that as well. But it is those, and sugary drinks is another thing. Juices, for example, because it is high, even when the juice is coming purely, it's a fruit juice. But any juice which has been cartoned, we know it is not fresh. It has the acidity level is much higher in that juice. And that's when it is not healthier for your gut. So juice should be freshly squeezed and taken fresh. And we don't need buckets of juice. We only need about 150 mil of any juice quantity of any fruit for our body to really take that nutrition. There's no point of eating excessive food because your body is using all those resources to digest those foods and actually is not really healthy for your system, where you could use that energy much elsewhere, and also that you don't then put on weight. Yeah, if you're eating too much. Yeah.
So it's an important thing to state is just because you want to boost your immunity doesn't mean you get a whole bunch of healthy food and eat loads of it, because then, just like as she said, you're going to end up, compromising your health. And interesting fact, so I used to love juicing. I haven't, it's in my parents' house, the juicer machine, and I'd take carrots and all the good stuff, and occasionally I'd make pure carrot juice with a bit of ginger in it, and it tastes amazing. Now, my dad at the time was a diabetic. He's reversed it, but he was diabetic at the time. And what he found was his blood sugar used to shoot up after having a carrot juice. Yeah. Isn't that crazy? So our body
carrot goes so much sugar.
Yeah. Well, this is it. And so it's not that there's something wrong with carrots. It's just that you've just left the fiber out. So eating whole carrots is important. So we'll talk a bit more about that. But what we want to also talk about is, what can they eat? What else can they eat to improve their gut health?
Well, actually, what they can eat is a lot of herbs.
Right.
Bitter and the local herbs that people can have, like nettles, people used to eat cabbages, and also pickled foods, which help to improve the gut flora and the gut microbiome. And that's also is another way to improve your immunity. So they can eat a lot of herbs, which people are not eating as much. A little bit of basil here and there, and your pasta is, and that quantity is also not enough. So, and it is so easy to grow these herbs. I'm not even really as good as you growing at all the foods, but even then, it's so easy to grow coriander, fresh parsley, and other bitter herbs, which we used to have in Britain and all parts of the world. We have lost that taste of eating bitter foods because we are eating far too much sugary. Our palate is much more sweeter now. And we are eating, we cannot taste really bitter, and we find it too bitter because we are not used to eating it. But bitter is what works on your liver. And that is also another way to improve your immunity. So we need to have those foods and seasonal foods. Yeah, mind you. So it has to be in the season. Seasonal food is what is going to improve your gut flora according to the season. And then that is going to work on your immunity. So these are the things that people can include slowly in their diet.
Absolutely. And so, in terms of seasonal food right now in hot summer season, of course, and it's a good time to have stuff like salads and celeries and cucumber. But then when you come to autumn season, when the pumpkins, I'm going to have loads of pumpkins, by the way, pumpkins and your squashes
are out. From you.
Yeah, we'll have excess amounts. I think people are doing a special, what's it called, Halloween party run where we live, because of the pumpkins we're growing. So yeah, that's seems, and also local, because one of the things people don't talk about very much is this, that so human body has constitution, which we'll talk about, but the environment you live in also has a constitution. Just imagine it's kind of energy vibration, and the foods that you are growing locally has been acclimatized to the vibration of that particular area. So if you live somewhere in the Andes, the kind of food you will eat there is not the kind of food you will eat in the middle of England somewhere or London. So you want to eat as local as possible. So one other thing I'd like to add in, because this is two of my favorite things, which really work extremely well, which is having probiotics. Probiotics are, in essence, fermented foods, and very specifically, the best ones I found, without a shadow of a doubt. And when I have clients sometimes, especially diabetic clients, they struggle with probiotics because they've destroyed their taste. The sugars, the excess sugars, the salt, just absolutely destroys your sensitivity in your taste bud, and so you're only addicted to crappy foods, basically. So one of the best things, especially if you have medication like antibiotics and you want to replace the bacteria they've destroyed, is to have sauerkraut. Now you can look it up, and we'll do another episode on that. Sauerkraut. I'll come on to kimchi again. Everything we talk about, we'll do another sub episode. Sauerkraut.
And actually, sorry to cut you. Indian pickles.
No. Indian pickles, yeah.
And Indian, Pakistani, Bangladeshi, it all comes from India, basically. Pickles that we are used to, different kinds of pickles and chutneys, are a great way of adding probiotic.
Brilliant. So sauerkraut, make sure you get it in the refrigerated area, not off the shelf, because you want those live bacteria. Sauerkraut, kimchi, kombucha, but if you've got sugar issues, don't get kombucha. Those things, when you make it, A, it's fun, B, it tastes amazing. And you can do it at home. It really, just YouTube it, Google it, and you'll find out. So take these probiotics. There's also prebiotics that you'll get in foods, like inulin, which is absolutely amazing, and that feeds the probiotics. You also want to take stuff like pomegranate, which has got many antioxidants as well. So there's a whole bunch of stuff, and again, we can't cover all of this on just immune health. So we'll move on to number 2, which is all about constitution. So I'm going to hand it over to you. So number 1 is improve your gut health to improve your immunity. Number 2, what do you have to do with your constitution? What does a constitution mean, Ashish?
So constitution, as we'll keep explaining in every episode bit by bit, is to do with your personality. Who are you as a person? How does your body take food in? What are your characteristics? How does your mind work? How does your gut work? Everybody's gut works in a unique way. Not everybody can eat the same food, the same quantity, same time. So it is your personality type, as we call it. And we have 3 personality types, rather. When we mix them up, there are hundreds and thousands of personality types that we have in Ayurvedic medicine. And it is to do with your body-mind constitution. How is your body behaving? What is your body structure? It involves ethnicity, where you come from, the foods that you are used to, that your genetic pool overall is used to eating those foods. So your constitution, if you know your constitution, you know which items to eat, which foods to eat, what lifestyle to have, how you know what are your weak points, and you need to work on those. What are your strong points? And accordingly, you would know that certain constitutions have weaker immune system, and then they need to always be on guard when they're taking diet, or when their immune system is down, or they catch any infection. They need to be much faster to act on, because they don't have that much of a therapeutic window to work in. So your mind-body constitution is who you are as a person, and it involves all of you.
Right, brilliant. And in terms of constitutions, the 3 constitutions are
Vata, Pitta, Kapha.
Okay, so as an example, this is how relevant it is, because I'm Vata with some Pitta. Pitta is the fire element. So a person who is fiery, should they eat fiery foods like hot spicy chilies? Why? Because fire and fire, they come together.
They should eat less spicy food, because it's the principle of opposites that work. So if you are a hot person, you should eat cooling foods. And not everybody is just one single type. So you are never just only Vata. If you are only Vata to an extreme, that is an imbalance. So we always have all the constitution within us, but it's what is the predominance of one dosha, as we call them. So if you are a Vata person, then your immunity is going to be much weaker. Pitta people have stronger immunity, and Kapha has the strongest one. So it is then the combination of these, Vata and Pitta, and how much Vata Pitta you have, accordingly you will have your immunity. But if you have had a certain lifestyle, if you have had a major illness in your life, if you have not been careful with your diet, then you may have weakened your immunity overall. If you have been abusing your body and your mind, then that, that privilege goes away that your body has gifted you with.
One of the things you mentioned earlier on, about infections, how if your immune system is weakened, you're going to be prone to infections, and repetitive ones that keep on coming. Stuff like UTIs, stuff like EBV, flu. There's a whole series of illnesses that you're more.
Skin itching.
Sorry, what's again?
Urticarias, itching of the skin.
Yeah. So these basically, you don't normally notice them, but if you got a weak immune system, all it takes is for you to get tired or exhausted, or have an emotional imbalance because you've had some kind of trauma, and then it kicks in. So do not. The younger you are, the less likely you'll notice it. But it doesn't mean you've got a strong immune system, because, you're able to fight through stuff. When I was younger, I was able to do so much stuff, had so much energy, not aware that there was an imbalance. So it's also, you've got to be very, very self-conscious or self-aware in a positive way, what's working for you and what's not. So is there anything else you want to talk about constitutions at all?
I think there is so much discussion right now. We have this idea of being individualistic and, knowing yourself. But we think knowing ourselves is just about knowing our mind or our thoughts. No, it is knowing your body inside out. What food can you eat, at what time, in what quantity, in what combination, all of those things. And also then to pay attention, to be very aware of what kind of genetic predisposition you have acquired from your parents, grandparents, what is in your family, and then to work actively. All the predispositions can be there, but it is your active measures that can either switch off it or switch it on. So that's what I think I would say, that really know yourself. And most people don't know this. Who knows about this? Is a unique concept to Ayurvedic medicine, which is about foods being hot or cold for you, being according to your constitution. There is no other medicinal system that talks about this.
What's interesting is that there's a lot of experts out there. An expert in a field, say, for example, fitness or surgery, brain surgery, and they know their stuff, very particular, very specific to that area. But actually the amount, and I see this in videos, of course, because I research a lot and want to know what everyone else is talking about. I'm constantly learning. And the level of ignorance people have, I mean, in medical school, in modern medical medicine, they do not get training in nutrition. Traditional medicine, you do not get any kind of training. And yet we know that your gut health, like we said in the previous episode, is everything. So moving on, the third one is, let's talk about, you mentioned, so the third way, natural way to boost your immunity is about the food you eat. We talked about some of that, but also you mentioned about digestion. Let's talk a bit more about that, timings and so on, and the way people are eating.
Yeah, so we have to eat food at the right time. If you're eating, you can be eating the best food in the world, but if you're eating at the wrong time, in the middle of the night, you are not going to absorb it very well. You're not going to get the nutrition out of it that your body requires. So you need to know what are the best times for you to eat. And like a lot of people right now are doing intermittent fasting. And intermittent fasting also has different time slots that work differently for everybody. It's not the same thing that would work for everyone. You have to see what your energy requirements are, what your level of,
Oh, I think we may have lost Ashish there. Oh, we got you back.
Hi.
So welcome back. So, this is a live episode of the Haroon Rabbani podcast with Dr. Ashish and myself. So we're co-hosting. She's my permanent guest for now. So you were saying about timing. So
I was talking about the timing of the food. So diet is based on, the whole thing is about timing. you miss the timing of the plane, you just by a second and the plane is gone. The
Yeah.
same as about the diet. If you are not eating at the right time, so we have the best digestive time between 12 and 3. That's when the pitta is the highest. That's also when the heat in the universe is the highest. So our body can digest a, a bigger meal at that time. So I always say, if you want to avoid everything else and you really are calorie conscious, just eat only lunch and eat as much as you want, because you have enough time to digest that food. So you have to, according to your body constitution, you need to eat foods which are at specific times. If you are someone who don't like having breakfast in the morning, at least not straight away, then whatever time works best for you, 10, 10:30, 11 o'clock, to have it at that time, and then to have lunch. So timing is crucial. In Ayurveda, timing is everything for food.
Yeah. The human body has evolved over hundreds and hundreds of thousands of years.
Yeah.
And the hunter-gatherers didn't have a Tesco's or a Walmart around the corner. They had to hunt for the damn food. Or especially as I'm a kind of part-time farmer, they had to wait for the food to grow in season. Right now, we've had blueberries growing, but they're not ready. They won't be ready until the end of the month. We've just had
Yeah.
certain potatoes which we harvested the other day. They're not the earlies. So everything has to come in its own time. So from functional medicine perspective, one of the things we say is that if you are going to eat late, then first of all, make sure nothing goes into your mouth at least 1 hour before you sleep, minimum 1 hour before you sleep. Because
Wow, 1 hour is very close.
no, I know it's very close. The point is this: the pancreas goes to sleep. It's like, I don't want to know. But then if you're eating, especially if it's sugary foods like dessert, people get told, oh, eat dessert last. What happens? You're going to have a blood sugar spike and you're going to be emulating a diabetic. That also operates the other way. First thing in the morning, why are you eating for the first hour? I also want to emphasize that in the Western diet, I grew up with cornflakes and Rice Krispies and all that kind of, Frosties and so on.
Yeah.
And a lot of people will defend to the death the McDonald's and the fast food because of their addiction to it. Now, when you're eating all this excess food, then what you're doing is you are putting such a burden on your system. You might be young in your 20s and 30s, or even early 40s, and think, oh, yeah, I'm fine, I'll get away with it. No, it's a buildup. As an example, insulin resistance, which is a resistance to insulin, that basically all people who have diabetes have insulin resistance, type 2 diabetes I'm talking about. Insulin resistance is a precursor to that. But insulin resistance is a precursor to dementia and Alzheimer's. It takes about 20 years more or 30 years before that develops. And by the time these things are diagnosed, too late. So have all the fast food you want, but just understand the repercussions is you're going to go loopy loops later on. And, I live in a village where there's older people here as well. And I see lovely, lovely people. Some people got dementia. One of our neighbors that literally a stone's throw away on the other side of our garden, the lady, amazing husband, she makes cakes all the time. And she's wondering why her husband, who's a diabetic, is now developing Alzheimer's and dementia. So there are consequences to all your actions. It is said that when you eat, you said up till 3 o'clock is fine. After that, what I love about it, how long does it take? 4 or 5 hours for food to leave your belly, or how long does it take?
4 hours.
About 4 hours. 4 hours. So 4 hours post-eating. So by 7 p.m., your body goes into fasting state. Yeah. And if you don't eat, let's just argument say you don't eat till 12 o'clock the following day. You've got 7 till 12 midnight. That's 5 hours plus 12 till 12. You've got about 17 hours. You're gonna detoxify your body naturally. So we both run various detoxification protocols, and if you've accumulated toxins, but you're eating in that kind of style where you got one main meal a day, maybe two at most, And yes, you can eat as much as you like. It's not an issue. If you're thinking, oh my God, I don't want to lose all the calories, stuff yourself in that in that time if
Yeah.
you want. But your body will burn it. So when you go into that fasting state, then your body starts cleansing from inside out and eating away the cells. Is there anything else you want to add about eating cycles? I mean, um, how can people find out, other than us doing another episode on that, how can people find out more about what time is good for them? I mean, is there a kind of rule of thumb, or do they have to have specific analysis? What are
Yeah.
your thoughts?
Okay. First of all, I want to apologize. There are far too many notifications, and I was just taking notification away, and then I went on to another screen. So apologies for that.
Not at all.
What I want to say, as I said, rule of thumb, my rule of thumb that I always recommend: don't have any dinner. Okay. Our human body is not supposed to be eating that many times. We are supposed to have fasting times in between. And fasting does not start from your last meal. As you mentioned correctly, fasting starts from 4 to 5 hours after that meal. Okay. That's when the fasting actually starts. So we need that fasting time for our body to cleanse, for it to recalibrate, for it to reset itself. So my rule of thumb is don't have any dinner, have good breakfast, good lunch. If you keep that rule, overall you can't go wrong, but you have to keep it for life. That's
Yeah.
the rule. That's my rule. That's my kids' rule. That's my patient's rule. that's my bottom line.
Brilliant. And so one of the questions coming through is from Palmy. She's saying, do you mean achar? Now, achar, for people who don't understand, it is another name for pickle, basically.
Huh.
I'm guessing you'll probably say the same thing. Probably not mango pickle, not mango pickle, mango chutney, which is basically sugar with mango. But turmeric pickle and vegetable pickles, there's a whole range of them. Just avoid the ones which have got too much sugar. So, mindset. Where does mindset come into the immunity?
Oh, direct link. We have what we know the science of neuroendocrinology. Your endocrine system, all your glands actually are under this, which is your brain, your mind, how you think, what you feel. It has a direct impact on what you release in terms of glandular secretions in your body. And same goes for immunity is also directly linked to your perspective on life, which again comes from the ideas and thoughts that you are having. If you're constantly thinking about being pessimistic, and you're thinking this is not going to work out, whatever that may be, whether it's in your business or in your home, and you are a person who's a constant worrier, we know that people who constantly worry, they have more gut issues because they are constantly innovating their nervous system, and that has an impact on you're secreting more acid, and you're going to have more gut issues. So your mindset is directly linked to how your immunity is. People who think positively, and by thinking I don't mean faking it, when you are a positive person overall, you always look for a solution in a situation. That is when your immunity gets better. And man, we have all sorts of studies to prove that. So mindset is, mind and body, we know it's all one.
Yeah, absolutely. So the mind and body is one, and it's so important. I was watching a video of someone today who has got I think she's got IBS,
Yeah.
and a nutritionist, and gives really good advice on the nutrition, and in your face kind of person. But my God, she's angry. She's angry a lot. She gets pissed off a lot by what other people say.
Yeah.
And the truth is, all those negative emotions, anger, in essence, anger from the space of consciousness or spirituality, anger is this. Anger, if your dominating emotion is anger, then you're perceiving the world as antagonizing you. People are trying to rub you up the wrong way. So you're going to go into survival mode. And again, it has a major impact. Bowel issues, from a spiritual and energetic perspective, is also to do with the inability to let go. If you're
Yeah.
holding on to stuff, the bowel is a very big area, right? It's like absolutely massive. And so
It is. And the liver
I'm
issues.
liver issues as well. And the thing is, it's not to say it's exclusively one or the other. It's always, nothing is as simple as it seems.
No.
However, if you're eating all the right foods and your body's still having issues, you've got to also, if you can't neglect the mind, because what happens to the mind impacts the body. What happens to the body, if you're eating food that's making your body anxious, your mind will be anxious. You're going to be agitated. As an example, when my kids were, I think, 2 and 4 years of age, so I was divorced by then, when they were with me, they were always calm, collected, having fun, etc. Their mother couldn't work out why they were always hyperactive when they were with her. And I asked her a very simple question. This is after a couple of years. She asked me, of course, she said, how do you do it? Very simple. Do you give them sweets? There's boiled sweets or chocolates or whatever, as treats. How often? Daily. I said, there you go. When they're with me, they don't get that. They might get it once a month, a bar of chocolate, if that, and we don't make a big deal out of it. So the food is agitating their body and the body is agitating their mind. So is there anything else you want to share about mindset? Oh, beliefs about food as well.
I mean, there's a lot one can say about, the mindset and beliefs. Yes.
If for example, and it applies. So our culture we're from, which is the Indian subcontinent, my culture in particular, Bengali culture, heavy rice eaters. So you know how a lot of British people that go to pubs and you'll see a beer belly. You will see that amongst Bengalis, especially those of you who live in a very Bengali-fied area. There's a lot of pot bellies. They're not alcoholics. It's purely to do with the rice. And there is this issue, this attachment to your own cultural foods. Nothing wrong with having your own foods, but the quantity. If you go to a Bengali, and I know because I used to do it, I'll go to an Indian event where they'll give food like they'll give you rice and various dishes, and I look at the plate and go, I'm a Bengali. I'll give the plate back and they would double the portion. And so your attitude towards your food has a direct effect, because all those carbohydrates are a massive contributor to type 2 diabetes, which is very, very big amongst the Bengali community as well. Also, I mean, does the mindset, immunity, does it connect up with clients you work with who are women with infertility issues?
Absolutely. Without mindset, there is nothing. We start actually disease in Ayurveda. We say disease first manifests in your head. It manifests in your consciousness first, and then it manifests in your head, in your thoughts, and then in your body. So the belief about the food, and also beliefs about overall eating, like you are Punjabi and you can eat rich food. So that's a different belief as compared to, as you mentioned, about Bengali culture. So every culture has their own beliefs about food. Having cream in every dish for Punjabis is like a staple. So it is also those beliefs that you then learn, right? And what is fascinating to see and also distressing to see is that these beliefs which children grow up with, and they have no other concept, because that is what they have learned. For sleeping on a full belly, that's what they learned, and that becomes their belief. They will not get satisfied if they're not full up to here. So all these things affect what we're going to talk next.
which is the fifth one, which is all about habits. And I think I can safely say that when it comes to dealing with chronic disorders, and just to clarify, a chronic disorder, a chronic disease is something that you're going to have, depends on who you go to, but on anything between 3 months and 12 months consecutive. So if you've had something for a year or more, you're definitely, same disease coming up again and again, it's a chronic disease. Now, to give you context, in the UK, approximately 70% of all hospital stays are people who have got chronic diseases. Just think about it. The UK's national health system is falling apart. It's being dismantled as we speak and destroyed, and yet 70% of the illnesses could have been prevented simply by making different choices. it's not to say one person's choice is better than the other, but you've got to think in terms of your own health. What are you stuffing yourself with? So let's look. So in order to change that, chronic diseases you can't fix with medication.
Yeah.
So, it's when people get to terminal stage, sure, you might need some medication. You might, I say might, okay? I'm going to go on public record and say my true opinion on that. But anyway, chronic diseases do not have a cure. But chronic diseases, in most cases, should you, and this is the big, if you shift in enough of the areas, so in terms of the food you eat, in terms of your attitude, in terms of your time, everything we talked about, should you shift that, then you vastly increase the probability of changing your chronic condition. So hence why we focus on the fifth one, which is habits. So what would you say, in your view, but besides what I said, is there anything else you want to add about habits, changing habits to boost immunity?
Yes, absolutely. So chronic disease, chronic or acute, I think what people, and I was sharing this with John, who I've recently connected with and had some discussion online, is that people think they can buy health. Yeah. Like you mentioned, what is the first supplement that person asked about for this, for fertility, for blood sugar, everything else? What is the first medicine? You cannot buy health. You can buy medicines, you can buy foods, but you cannot buy health. Health can only be built from within.
Yeah.
And it needs space, it needs time, and time is about habits. So we need to put those habits which are consistent every single day. Okay. So for example, when I go to hairdressers, everybody talks about it. As you can see, I've got very long hair, and they talk about your hair is in really good condition. That is because I don't know ever not oiling my hair and washing it. I used to oil up to 21 years. I used to oil even after washing my hair. So I'll wash my hair, really nice, oil it, plait it. That's how my hair has been for up to 22, 23 years. And then I thought, no, I look really geeky. I look really silly. So I stopped doing that. But that's what I'm talking about. Consistent habit. And consistent habits take an effort. It's an effort to keep doing that every single time. Like I don't use hair dryer to dry my hair, hardly ever. If I'm in real rush, once or twice a year, I'll use that. So that is why my hair is in condition what it is in that condition, And these things, as I said, I can buy the best shampoo in the world, but I cannot buy what is going on internally in the overall health of me. So that's a big thing that people need to understand. You cannot buy health, guys.
Yeah.
You cannot buy health. You can only build your own health. Same with immunity. You can get all the medicines for immunity, all the vaccinations and everything else. But if you don't develop habits from within, it's not going to go very far.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's go. I've got a list of 10. I'm sure I'm going to end up saying more. Let's talk about sunshine. So right now, habit
As you
number
can
one.
see, sunshine.
Yeah, we have a lot of sunshine. You got your skylight working. My curtains are drawn, and I'm boiling to death here. I don't need to go to the sauna this week. So it's important to. Doesn't matter what day of the year it is. Doesn't matter the fact that you live in England. Even especially if it is Christmas, it's Christmas Day. Even when it's raining during the day, the sun is still up. It is still giving out the ultraviolet rays that our body needs. And so whilst today, when the temperature's 29, 30 degrees Celsius in the middle of the country, definitely more in London, when the temperatures are that high, you don't want to be in the sun for too long. And again, just think your body constitution's got a lot to do with it. Because if you're an English person, then you can spend 10, 20 minutes in the sun and get all your vitamin D. And this is what it's about, vitamin D needs happening there. But if you're a person of brown color, brown skin, or darker skin, you need a lot more. End of story. But so do you have any broad ballpark range of time people should be in the sun? And just to clarify, being in the sun doesn't mean looking out the window. That doesn't count because the window actually stops the ultraviolet lights from coming in. Any thoughts? Your thoughts on it? I reckon for most people, from what I see, it's about 20 minutes for a Westerner, meaning white skin.
Yes, I mean that again. We can also check the levels of vitamin D, what you need, and then accordingly spread that, every day how much you should be outside. I normally recommend people to do a bit of yoga out where they can actually feel the sun on the skin, because you're getting both the benefits of the yoga and the sun. And the sunlight, as you mentioned, it is crucial for us to get those early sun rays.
Yeah.
When the sun is out, not in the pouring rain, what we get here in England. But to get that sunlight and to get that sun, and not looking at the sun directly, as we have mentioned before, but looking at the sun rays and getting that light in your eyes. Yeah, that's what we need, which then starts the whole chain reaction for the melatonin, which you need for the sleep. So it is important to have the light. I normally say do your yoga outside, so you'll get double the benefit.
Yeah, brilliant. And so my son is actually gone away. Funny enough, he picked the worst time to go away on holiday to Spain when we get a heat wave here. But anyway, he's there with his mates, and he asked, what sunscreen he should use. And my own opinion, and this is my opinion based on research I've seen, is actually since the advent of sunscreen, there's been more people with skin cancer than before that. So my recommendation is to get not chemical-based sunscreen. If you use it, go for a mineral-based, which doesn't get absorbed into your bloodstream. Or the other thing, because I've never used sunscreen in my life, have loads of blueberries. It has such a powerful antioxidant effect on your skin. It's incredible. So do that.
And coconut oil.
Coconut oil as well. Eating, I presume, yes?
No, to apply on the skin.
Okay, great. Well, which I do anyways.
It has natural sun blocking effect.
Okay, there you go. So coconut oil on your skin, which is great because that's what I have straight after my shower. Great. Yeah. So moving on to that, the one that I mentioned before, and I want to mention it again, that over 300 of your, now just to give you clarity, your body has 37,000 billion chemical reactions taking place every single second. What a freaking miracle you are. If you're alive, you're already a miracle. 37,000 billion. Okay. Anyway, amongst their individual reactions, but in terms of the classification of reactions, over 300, I don't know exactly how many, over 300 of those reactions are dependent on magnesium, including digestion, including helping with arthritic issues and back pain. So, for example, I occasionally suffer from back pain because I sit on this damn chair for too long. And so I'll have back pain. Besides doing yoga and so on, I use magnesium spray. If you got sleep issues, use magnesium spray. And in fact, you mentioned John, and he was talking about sleep to me the couple of weeks ago or a week ago. And actually, I just saw a post somewhere saying he's had his first good night's sleep in ages. So I'm going to look him up and find out why he said that. So magnesium is the second one. The third one is the sleep-wake cycle. What does Ayurveda have to say about sleep and waking cycle?
Oh, a lot. So sleep on time is crucial. Sleeping on time every single day. And if you are someone who doesn't like sleeping on time, then you should sleep on time even more. As the principle goes. So according to your constitution, yes, not everybody needs the same amount of sleep. It is not about that. It is about what time should you go to bed. So ideally, speaking, you should be asleep before 10. That is the ideal time. So that in an hour or so, your body goes into deeper sleep, and you only sleep deep for about half an hour. That is the time when your body is the most restful, and rest then is the wake up time. So sleep early and then wake up. You can wake up 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock. If you are Vata person, you are going to wake up much earlier as compared to Pitta and Kapha people who need little more sleep. So
oh my God, that is so true. Oh my goodness, that just explains why my mum is Kapha and she wakes up. She actually sleeps in a lot more, And me, I'm like, I wake up early. It's like, no wonder she thought I was such a pest, because I was always waking up early compared to her.
Yes. So you
Okay,
should
thank you
sleep
for that.
early, but
Yeah,
it is crucial for you to sleep on time, and that is why it is crucial for you to eat on time, because if you have full belly, then you will not be able to sleep well, and it will affect your sleep cycle. So sleep cycle is extremely crucial for fertility, for gut health, for immunity. All your immunity is being
diabetes.
built while you're diabetes, every single thing.
Yeah. So if you've got any kind of health condition, address that. If you've got anxiety issues, depression issues, the very thing that you probably need most, you're probably not doing, which is
Yeah.
sleeping. Anxiety, your brain gets, your brain toxicity gets lowered by sleeping early. You mentioned about sleeping early. Now, one of the things people struggle with is, oh my God, I'm not tired. Try waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning, staying awake. No mid afternoon. Now, wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning or 6 o'clock in the morning. Your body will soon tell you to shut. Anyway, go to sleep to get you. Yeah. So the habit number 4 is about cleansing the gut. What do you mean by cleansing the gut?
As I was saying before, we are not meant to be eating this much food that we are eating in current scenario on the earth, all human beings, right? So when we used to be hunter-gatherers, right, as you mentioned, we used to go and hunt, and sometimes we would find food, sometimes we probably wouldn't find food. And then we eat at lunchtime, we cook the food, everybody together in the commune sit together and share that food and eat that food, and that's about it. There's nothing else left, because there was no refrigerator to keep that food. So you would eat it, and if something left over, you might keep it for the children for the night. That was our usual cycle. Yeah. So we are not doing that anymore. So it is important for us to keep fasting from time to time, however that works out for your schedule, for your whatever kind of person you are, very active or non-active. You need to find regular ways of detoxifying your body to where there is no food in your system, and your system can start to reset itself.
You've also got to detoxify from certain foods as well. So, for example, so many people suffer from something called, in scientific terms, intestinal permeability or leaky gut. Leaky
Yeah.
gut, one of the biggest, well, a couple of the biggest contributors. One is gluten in wheat-based products, because some people, well, a lot of people are gluten intolerant. They just
Yeah.
don't know it. And the other is glyphosate, which is basically your weed killer. You know, when you don't buy organic foods, people, that stuff that they spray into your food, it's very
Yeah.
difficult to
Very
wash it
exciting.
off. It becomes infused in your food. That contributes to leaky gut. And so,
Yeah.
yes, buy organic, for sure. I mean, you're not 100% guaranteed organic's that good either, but
Yeah.
at least do organic. So you're detoxifying from that. But to clarify how important, reinforce what you've said. If you have, say, a fingernail's worth of gluten and you're gluten intolerant, and you say you never have it, you have it at one time, it might take you approximately, on average, about 6 months to just get rid of the effects of that gluten. So prevention is way more smarter than cure. So
Yeah.
moving on, the next habit we're looking at is having simple, non-processed foods. What do you mean by simple? We know what processed foods are. What are simple foods?
Simplifying is probably harder to do. Simple foods cooked simply, or even like right now, it's wonderful to eat salads, which is the simplest way of putting together with the skin, where you can eat the skin of salads like cucumber and wash it thoroughly, of course, and just mixing it together with bit of pinch of whatever herbs and salt and spices you want to add. That's a simple food, and that has all its flavors still there, so that we are not overcooking it, we are not over adding a lot of sauces and a lot of stuff to it, cream and huge amounts of even butter, even though I love butter. But it is about keeping it, not cooking even too much, just sauteing it a little bit and just eating it that from time to time, so that we don't always have heavy foods. So that's what I mean by simplifying. Ayurveda recommends simpler foods. Simpler foods are good for your gut.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're not saying you shouldn't have cooked foods or, now and again. Do have that. And I used
No,
to
no,
have
you
highly
should have
competitive.
cooked food. You should have
Yeah.
cooked food.
Well, I'm talking about some people will be maybe barbecuing a lot,
Yeah,
or basically, but with barbecues, you end up burning the food. The problem is those burnt foods, which are really carbon, has a can be cancerous, basically. So,
that's right. Yeah.
we're not saying you shouldn't eat cancerous food. Go ahead, eat foods that give you cancer every now and again, and then go on a detox retreat. But generally,
Yes.
prevention is better. We just keep the food simple. Food is important. Food is the basis of much part of many people's lives. I absolutely love food. I was talking to a client of mine who used to enjoy food. She's a bit more older now, and lives alone and so on. She has family, but she lives alone, and she just lost her passion for cooking. And
Yeah.
I said, "Well, hold on. How are you going to pass this knowledge, this wisdom onto your grandkids? What if the foods that you eat heal you from the chronic condition? I won't say what it is. It's quite a bad one. If let's say the foods that you're eating, as a result of you shifting your ways, gets rid of your condition." And let's say 20 years from now, your daughter who's in her 30s, your grandkids who are like under 10, what if they one day end up with the same condition and they remember that grandmother did this and they shift? So the point is this lady, just, because her family is so important, realized, hey, hold on, eating good food isn't just about me. It's actually inculcating, helping my family adapt their lifestyle, and it can be done. I thought growing up in my mid 20s, I thought I have to have curry at least twice a day, full meals, proper Bengali style, plus breakfast, plus elevensies. And I wasn't fat then or anything like that. I know I'm lucky in that sense. But the point is this: I eat curry about once a week now, maybe twice a week, because I usually cook in bulk. So you can change your ways, but you got to have enough reason for it. So make sure
Yeah.
you find enough reason. And the next one is, let's talk about detoxing itself. Can detoxing be a habit? I mean, which is linked to what we just talked about, right?
Yeah. So, as I was mentioning again, to periodically or as often as you want, you can detox actively and passively. Actively means where you are going, say, on a detox retreat, and there are specific herbs involved, there is specific medicines involved, like we do in Ayurvedic medicine, what we call panchkarm. Panchkarm is a very intensive form of detoxification program which lasts for about a month. So you could do that. It is recommended once a year that you should deep detox, not just only your body, actually, it is your mind as well, because typical Ayurvedic Panchkarma is done in a retreat setting. So you go away and you stay there for a month and you do that. And in between, you can also do one day where you don't eat as much, or you only have one meal that day, or you only have fruit meal that day, you only have very light meal or khichdi fast, which I normally recommend because Ayurveda doesn't believe in no food fasting. It believes in lighter food that you can take, or maybe some fruits and some juices, not mix together, but 2-3 different times to eat in a day. So that would be your detoxification day, right? In a natural way. So you can do that every 2 weeks, for example, as a habit. Yeah, every 2 weeks, like people do religious fast, on Mondays, on Fridays, on all sorts of days. That is again is built in accordingly so that your body can get some rest from the food and get some rest from eating and also from cooking as well. People who are cooking, they have to cook also.
Brilliant, brilliant. Okay, so moving on, because we're rapidly coming towards the end, and eventually, I promise you guys, once we get a bigger audience, and I'm being honest here, once we get a bigger audience, more interaction, we will do longer shows. But for now, let's play with what we have. So the next is, well, breath work. Now, let me say a bit about breath work. One little thing I discovered is the people who don't breathe, they die. So if you don't breathe, you're dead. Right? We got that. So if you don't breathe, you're dead. I also discovered from looking at the scientific research, and I've known this for decades anyway, animals who've got the fastest heartbeats, the fastest breathing cycles, tend to have the shortest lives.
Yeah.
The ones which are the big animals that live for the longest amount of time tend to have much slower heart rates. It's very important to understand. So, in Ayurveda, of course, which is really, I don't know which, Ayurveda, yoga, pranayama, they're all one. It's not like one has a ruling over the other. So talk to us about pranayama. What is it?
Yes, absolutely. I love pranayam. Prana means life. So you are bringing life in. As you mentioned, without the breath, without that life going into you, we would be dead. So that is the point. And yes, that is the point of pranayam, to control your breath. Because we only have that many breaths, which spans over a particular time scale. So to control that breathing, to do breathing in a more productive way, that is what pranayama is about. And 90% of the people don't breathe very well, and your breath is connected to every single disease that you have. Even your backache, which you think is a structural issue, it is related to how you breathe. When you don't breathe very well through both the nostrils, you get more backaches and other issues, fertility and diabetes. And because it is a way for your body to cleanse, it's the gaseous exchange which happens at the level of the cells, which is happening because of your breath. It doesn't happen when you're not breathing very well. The cells don't actually get that fresh air of, fresh air that it would get. So breathing is crucial. It's part of every single consultation or work that I am doing, all my patients. And by the way, that story that I shared about my patient who lost 10 kilos since February, so 4 months. Husband lost 5 kilos, she lost 10 kilos. She started after him, he started losing first. And she was telling me that it's the breath work, because I taught them Kapalbhati, which is a specific way of doing breathing. And she said, why nobody talks about breath? I said, well, I talk about breath to everyone because I know it has these advantages. You can lose weight with it. And she lost 10 kilos with the breath work.
Wow. Wow, that is absolutely mind blowing. So we will go into Kapalbhati and other pranayamas in another episode. I keep repeating that. You realize we're going to be doing episodes for another 10 years. Okay, so related to breath work, of course, you breathe in through the nostrils rather than through the mouth. One of the reasons you breathe in, and this is another habit, one of the reasons you breathe in through your nostrils is so that you can cleanse the air, you can warm up the air. Now, there's a particular, so I had the virus not too long ago, and I had breathing issues. And you know what I did? I accelerated my healing process by using something called a neti jug or jal neti. Do you want to explain how that works? Because it comes from Ayurveda again.
Oh, fantastic. You used it. Jal neti is when you take warm water, lukewarm water, just with not even a pinch, just less than a pinch of salt, or you can also use herbal decoction or herbal infusion. And you put water through one nostril and you tilt your head until it starts to come out on the other side. And you can do it with any other pointy pot as well. Jalneti pot is easier to use. And it helps to cleanse this pathway, and it is great for upper respiratory tract infections. Anybody who gets a lot of sinus issues and a lot of phlegm issues and viral issues, as we know. So you are an example, and I recommend that a lot to patients, people who have got asthma, allergies, hay fever. It works great for that.
And so these are all infections, and primarily, your cleansing system is blocked, and so this helps clean it. I'll put a link to an image of it, and you can get it from Amazon or wherever. I'm not selling it. I don't think you're selling it, so please have a look at that. And then there's two other things. Let's go on to the next habit. Why specifically do you recommend yoga as a habit and a day? And this is something I do. I do yoga practice every day. Just hope you're happy with that. But why do you feel people ought to consider yoga as a daily habit?
So yoga is about looking inside. You are connecting within you. So your body and your mind is getting connected via your breath. That is what yoga is about. You can do certain movements, what we call asanas. If you are flexible, not everybody can do every asana, so don't try to stand on your head if you are not capable of that. And do breath work with it. So yoga is more gentler, specific stretching form of exercise. If you want to keep it exercise, you can use breath work as an exercise, and it is quite strenuous one. So yoga is a deeper connection to yourself. When you do running, for example, most of the people mind is somewhere else. Most of the people are listening to music. You're not actually in your body. Same thing happens when you go to the gym. So you're just mindlessly running. I would never be able to do that. Whereas yoga makes more sense, because every single movement, every part of your body that you're moving, you're connecting with your breath. You're aware of your body moving. And that's crucial for you to understand whether you are in any kind of discomfort, any kind of pain, any body part or organ is not functioning. And it's about listening to yourself. So it's a practice of that. And the more you listen to yourself, the more you become aware.
And a lot of people, when they're unwell, physical exercise is recommended. But here's what I do. There's a particular device I use, which is developed by Professor Konstantin Korotkov, and it measures the energy health of all your organs and your systems. And one of the things it does, it tells you if your sympathetic nervous system is firing off too much, which basically, in essence, means your fight or flight, your activation is not just fight or flight, or your parasympathetic, which is all about rest, relaxation, it's a healing space. So a lot of people assume exercise, this is the one way to go. But when your body is already hyperactive, the last thing you need is something else which will give you active. And I know this, my clients say it, not all of them, but a number of them, they see that actually I don't exercise the last thing I need to do. I need to do something that's gentle. Exercise is important. And so yoga, I don't consider that as an exercise. I consider A, it's a lifestyle. B, it's a thermometer for measuring where your mind is, where your spirit is. What do I mean by that? So, for example, if I've got tensions in certain parts of my body, then, and I won't go into detail in this area because I'm not the expert. If I have tension in certain parts of the body, I know, for example, my kidney's overactive, which means too much adrenaline, which means I've got to calm down. So my body is mirroring back to me what I'm overdoing or underdoing. So yoga is more than just exercise. It is unification. This is what it means, literally unification of the mind, the body, and the spirit. Bringing us to the final one, habit that I have been advocating for many, many years, and over 10 years, and something that I've been leading, which is meditation. How do you feel meditation? Because I mean, you do that, and you also advocate that. How do you feel meditation helps in someone's immunity, in immune health?
So meditation is linked to mindset. In a modern sense, we can link to that. Meditation is not mindset, but it is linked to it, and you can lead into that if you have a particular way of looking at life, if you are a positive looking person, and how you can then I normally get into meditation, or the way I teach is to get it into it via visualization. So you go from visualization, you do some chanting work, you excite your body with breath work, and then you sit down in that quiet space. And meditation, the real meditation is when you're not doing anything. You are in that silent space, but you have to create that space. If you go from running 1,000 miles to nothing, your body is going to take a long time before it actually halts, and your mind. So that is where, when we do breath work, when we do yoga, it's a way of slowing down and then getting into that space. And meditation is crucial for us, or mindfulness, as we are talking about mindfulness so much, in modern space, is to be mindful, to create that space between your thoughts in whatever you are doing, whether you're walking, you're cooking, so that you're not thinking about too many thoughts all at once. So that is what mindfulness is. So it's all interlinked.
Yeah, absolutely. And so meditation, from my perspective, is that is exactly what you said, which is creating that space between your thoughts long enough for you to start hearing your own voice, because all those thoughts you're having, they're not even yours. They're programs from outside forces, your parents, the environment, the media, the education. So all those thoughts, that monkey brain, people call it, the monkey chatter, whatever they call it, it's not even yours. So when you are in a state of meditation, you're creating enough space. And it's a deeply spiritual topic, not religious, spiritual. One of the scientists I interviewed many years ago, in fact, he was my first guest at my Consciousness Revolution show back in 2009, way back then when I was doing podcasts then. Nassim Haramein is a famous physicist in the quantum field area. And he says this space, scientifically shown, is where creativity takes place. This empty space, he calls it the mind of God. So if you're somebody who's into manifestation, or somebody trying to figure out what the hell is going wrong with my life, stop there. So I hope those habits are useful to you. Don't try to do them all at once. Do 1 or 2 new habits. I'd recommend definitely the good habits. Pick the ones that will work for you. If you can't meditate straight away and get what do you call it, space between your thoughts, silence in your head, welcome to the real world. Because to create that big silence between your head, you have to do it for years and years, and even some monks hidden away in monasteries haven't even achieved that. So you have to be patient with your body, patient with your mind. Whatever age it is you are, whether you're 30, 40, 50, 20, just think 20 years of programming that has led to your health condition now, your mind condition now. What, you're going to expect to change it in 5 days? Ain't going to work like that. Be patient with yourself. And is there anything else you want to add, Ashish, before we end this podcast episode today?
No, I think we have gone into quite a lot of detail about immunity and how immunity can be built over a period of time. It is not a quick fix. Health is not a quick fix overall, as I've said before. So it is building all these in conjunction. And if you don't try to do all at once, as Harun said, and also take help, we are here. This is what we do. Put people and guide them on the right track. And it takes some time. I mean, it took me ages to understand my body, mind constitution and what foods were good for me and all of that. And I'm a practitioner. So let alone somebody who's not a practitioner. So do it one thing at a time, take help, go to a practitioner, take their advice, and then work on that advice slowly.
Brilliant. Ashish, this has been another fascinating episode, and thank you once again for joining us. I can't remember from the top of my head what we're going to talk about next week, but it doesn't matter. If you're watching the recording, go to the next episode. It'll be on the playlist. If you're watching on YouTube, my Facebook page, LinkedIn page, and very soon on Spotify, it's all going to be there. So make sure you join us same time, same place, wherever you're watching us from. And if you have any comments, any questions, any complaints, not about me, if you have got anything you want to share with us, then make sure you make your comments in the comment section. So until then, bye for now. Thank you, Ashish. See you soon.
Thank you, Harun. Thank you.